Afternoon, everyone. So my name is Kesserwani, and I'm a PhD student in biological anthropology at Emory University, researching ancient DNA. So you guys are probably wondering, what is a biological anthropologist doing here? Well, I just really like ancient languages, so yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, so I will be presenting on the beautiful and fascinating Palmyrene dialect of Aramaic. So this is just a quick presentation overview, and also I kind of apologize in advance. This is my first presentation. I think I made it a little bit too basic. This is like kind of very beginner and interdisciplinary in the beginning. I just kind of wanted to set the scene, like just kind of like the historical background, just kind of help you appreciate the context more. And so in the first part, I'll discuss the historical background, the linguistic features of Palmyrene Aramaic, as well as what makes it so interesting. And then later I'll discuss the methodologies used, RTI, which I think most of you guys already know what RTI is. I'll rush through that, and then actually get into the funerary busts. So I was actually super excited when this paper was first published, and I saw the cover of Marav exactly 1 year ago on this day, coincidentally. So one of the busts that this paper analyzes was featured on the cover. Yay! So we'll get to that in the second part. Oops. So let's go ahead and get started on the historical background. All right, so Palmyrene Aramaic was spoken in Palmyra in present-day central Syria and is considered to be an Eastern Middle Aramaic dialect. Now, Palmyra in ancient times, also known as Tadmur in Arabic and in ancient times, was very successful in antiquity due to its location in a desert oasis east of Damascus. It was the quintessential caravan city. This put it on a strategical point, a portion of the Silk Road which facilitated trade between the Roman Empire and Persia. I'm sure most of you guys know Palmyra, probably through Palmyrene inscriptions, as well as Queen Zenobia. So rest of the 3rd century, Palmyra became so wealthy at one point that they were able to challenge the fractured Roman Empire. So with this great wealth, the city diversified and became distinct due to its syncretic ethnic, religious, and linguistic composition. This ethnic composition consisted of Hellenized Amorites, Arameans, and Arabs. And with this wealth, the inhabitants of the city constructed amazing monumental projects, such as the Great Colonnade in the picture here. This is here's a Great Colonnade, the Temple of Bel, also in Palmyra, and the distinctive tower tombs. And as most wealthy ancient civilizations, the construction of tombs and funerary icons were heavily invested in. This brings us to Palmyrene funerary busts. Produced between the 1st century BCE to the 3rd century CE, these busts are the largest corpus of portrait sculptures in the Roman world outside of Rome, and the largest collection of funeral representations from one place in the classical world. Unfortunately, production ceased in 273 CE when Rome sacked Palmyra under the rule of Aurelian, Restitutor Orbis, the restorer of the world. He sacked Palmyra 273. So let's go ahead and move on to the linguistic features, since this is a presentation on on ancient inscriptions. Oops. And these are the 3 funerary busts, which we will analyze later. Okay. So Palmyrene Aramaic was a Middle Aramaic dialect which evolved from Imperial Aramaic. The script was a cursive Imperial Aramaic derived script, which was very common during the region and the period. So Middle Aramaic can be divided into 2 branches that you will see above. So you have the Western and the Eastern. The Eastern dialect consisted of Classical Mandaic, Hattrian, Jewish Babylonian, and Classical Syriac, and the Western, Nabatean, Palestinian Jewish Christian dialects, and Samaritan. Now, there have been claims of Palmyrene Aramaic showing both features of the Western and Eastern dialects, although it is fundamentally an Eastern dialect and does not exhibit the linguistic features of Western Middle Aramaic dialects. So the following is an example of an inscription from the Louvre. PAT that you see below is the standard source, so it's like the Palmyrene version of KIA, so Palmyrene Aramaic texts. And let's take some time to read it. If you are familiar with Aramaic, you will actually notice how similar it is to the other dialects of the period, such as Syriac. So no major grammatical or lexical changes from most Aramaic dialects in the region and the period. And this is the inscription itself. I'll take a look at the script. If you're familiar with Syriac, Imperial Aramaic, or even the Hebrew script, you will notice that Palmyrene looks like a midway point between the cursive scripts and the cursive Syriac. I'm sorry, the non-cursive scripts and the cursive Syriac. So I think that you could probably see a few instances of some like kind of connections to the next letter. And here is another image of a basic inscription. So most Palmyrene inscriptions, I mean, I think it's common with all Semitic inscriptions. I mean, they're pretty short and formulaic. So many people have tried to connect the origins of Syriac with Palmyrene Aramaic. So this is actually a bit of a tangent. I thought this was interesting, but I just wanted to share it. I'm sure we probably could have made the statement that the Syriac script evolved from Palmyrene Aramaic. And this is by, examining other similar Middle Aramaic dialects, such as Hatturan Aramaic in northern Mesopotamia, and Hattane Aramaic, the ancestral script of Arabic in the southern Levant. We see that cursive writing traditions were present across the region. So Syriac probably arose from a similar cursive writing tradition in Edessa, yet to be discovered. So we could claim that Palmyrene potentially is its closest known relative. Just a little tangent that I felt like sharing. All right. So a lot of you guys are probably wondering, though, what makes Palmyrene Aramaic so special? So, we have seen that it's very similar to other dialects of Aramaic to the time. So what makes it so special? Well, as I said earlier, that the ethnic composition of Palmyra consisted of Hellenized Amorites, Aramaeans, and Arabs. This composition is reflected in the language, and Palmyrene Aramaic has many Greek and Arabic influences. Most of the classical Near East was Hellenized, so I won't get too much into that, as it isn't anything unique to Palmyra, but the Arabic influences are really fascinating. So we see personal names of Arabic origin in Palmyrene inscriptions and occasional Arabic deity. So here are some examples right here. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Arabic, you'll probably notice like baker, you see it come up every now and then from the Arabic root for bread. So actually even some family names, a tribe of the goat herders. I actually thought it was interesting. You see like the Arabic Yalda instead of like the normal Aramaic Yalda. So normally Aramaic has that Y where in Arabic it's seen as like a W. And the mention of Arabic deities such as Allat and Manat. But the thing is, Palmyrene's claim to fame is this large corpus due to the Palmyrene funerary busts. So these busts are the largest corpus of portrait sculptures in the Roman world outside of Rome. Almost 4,000 busts have been discovered. Although I mentioned earlier, the busts are very formulaic in nature, so the beauty in studying Palmyrene Aramaic isn't deciphering large texts, but rather analyzing personal names and putting together family trees, prosopography. So let's go ahead and dig into the 3 funerary busts that we analyzed in the paper and just kind of connect everything together. So I will discuss RTI real quick, which I just kind of go over it real quick in case you guys aren't familiar, some of you aren't familiar with it. So the busts I worked on were actually in Italy, in the Barracco Museum in Rome. So that's why RTI came really in handy when like doing remote research. So I just received the files, ran them in the RTI viewer, and this is just a quick image of how RTI is made. You just take images of different angles. You take images of an object at a fixed position, angle the position of light for each picture, and you just package it in a software. And here is me doing some RTI on one of the funerary busts. So you zoom in, you can adjust the lighting. And here's, there we go. And here's a specular enhancement right here. So this is just a quick video demo of how it works. And let's go ahead and get into the first one. So this is the one that's actually on the cover of Marav. So PAT 1064 or NB Museo Barracco 249. So this bust would have been created between 200 and 273 CE. All right, so here's the inscription itself. So just take some time to look at the inscription and then look at the script and just kind of notice like the similarities, between Imperial Aramaic. So this one actually isn't too cursive. It doesn't show too many cursive features, such as like connecting to the next letter, but it's quintessential Palmyrene Aramaic. Awesome. And now here is the linguistic analysis of this one. So for example, the lady in this bust, her name would have been Habba, or Habba, which is a hypotheticon of so-and-so has loved. She's the daughter of Agalabul, I don't know, I probably butchered that pronunciation, or Haga, who would have been, which is a hypocriticon of Hagalabula, which is from the Semitic root Aga, meaning calf, which came to be an element of the moon god, Agli Bull, because of the graphic similarity between the horizontal crescent moon and a set of a bull's horn. And then you have her father's name, which would have, oh no, I'm sorry, her husband's name, because you see she's the wife of Nisha, which is a very, very common Palmyrene name from the Hypochoresticon, and or so and so has lifted up. So we're going to see this one again later. And then he was the son of Amun, which is from the Hebrew or Canaanite import, meaning faithful. So we're already seeing now influences from the Levant, Canaanite influences. And now the next bust. So this is the same time period. This is 1065, PAT 1065, or Museo Barracco 206. So made, probably created between 200 to 273 CE. And so the thing about this one is the first, her name is damaged, or the top line is damaged, although we do know it ended with an Aleph, which isn't really useful as most female names ended with an Aleph. So yeah, but we know that she was a daughter of a man named Emory, who was called the Small Cattle Man. And this one's interesting. So Mihred is actually a hypochresticon of the Persian Mihredat, or probably if you guys know Greek, Mihredates. So Mihredates is preserved in Greek at Palmyra, although it is not preserved in the parallel Aramaic texts. So this represents the Persian name Mihredati. And then Ahanza, meaning the shepherd or the small cattleman. So in Syriac, you actually do see this. The noun means goat herd. And it's very uncommon that professions were recorded in funerary inscriptions, although it is not unknown. And also, you guys are probably wondering why a shepherd or a small cattleman would have been mentioned on a funerary inscription. Well, we do see some parallels in the Hebrew Bible where cattlemen would have been considered to be a prosperous profession. So I'm actually not going to read this. I'll just summarize it real quick. So the king of Mesha of Moab and the prophet Amos are described as Noked, or among the Nokedim. So this means shepherds, and it may have denoted at one point a prosperous profession. And this would have been a more prestigious position than is commonly portrayed. So a little biblical connection right there. And now we come to the final bust. So this is the older one, the oldest one in the collection, or from the three that we did. PAT 1759 or MB 250, Museo Barracco 250, created between 150 to 170 CE. And so if you pay attention to this guy right here, I think probably some of you guys looked at it and said, oh, this guy is a priest because he has the modus hat. So the long modus hat, he doesn't have a beard. That is another common feature of a priest. And I actually really like this one, so a little fun little fact right here. You see that? Like right on top of his hat, above his forehead, that is a little sculpture of a priest wearing a modus. So that's like a Russian nesting doll. That's the way that I saw it. And now we get into the inscriptions. So this one's divided up into a right panel and a left panel. So the right panel, you see the very common interjection, or like the word of lamentation. So like alas. And then his name was Halapuna, who was the son of Nisha. Already saw that name. Then he was the son of Yerchi Bola. And then this is the other side of the panel. All right, so Halapuna, meaning successor. So this is actually related to the Arabic root khalaf, like to succeed, like the caliphs that succeeded the prophet. I think you also see this root in Hebrew and Aramaic as well. So it's a very common Semitic root. And then we have Nesha, that name again, a very, very common name, like I said earlier. And then you have the name Yerchi-Bola, which is a divine name for Yerchi-Bol, who was worshipped alongside Bel in Palmyra. And that leads to the end of the linguistic analysis. Here's just a quick script analysis. So everything's it stays true to the corpus, nothing crazy. This is just each inscription and the letters, the different graphemes that you see. And then the final conclusions. So this is the conclusion of the paper. We dated 1064, 1065 to 200 to 273 CE, PAT 1759 to 150 to 170 CE. The paleographic styles of alternate inscriptions display consistency with the corpus, so nothing crazy. Most of the names have been attested in the Palmyrene corpus, with one exception. So we do have one original finding, Mihr from 1065 is likely of Persian origin, and his profession was a cattleman. And that leads us to the end of the presentation. So special thanks to Dr. Hutton and Dr. Klein, who could not join us today, the reviewers of Marab and the Barracco Museum in Rome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, that was excellent. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Who has questions? Jane, here you are. Well, that's why we have a microphone.
Okay, I'm sorry, I lost my voice. So this probably sounds terrible. How do you figure out
Oh,
Okay, Jane says, how do you figure out?
HR is
Oh, how do you figure out that MHR has something to do with Mithridati?
yeah, that's actually a really good question. And so I was actually thinking the same thing because it was actually Dr. Hutton who proposed it. And that's the thing. It's, you know, you have to, whenever you're dealing with linguistics, you do have some level of speculation. So we're not like 100% sure, but we believe because we have seen this name come up in the corpus, or we've seen it in Greek. So we did see it occur in Palmyra. There's no other name that's similar to this. And like I said, you do have some level of speculation, but we were able to somewhat make a connection to that. I'm sorry, that was a very bad answer, but yeah.
I'm sure if Jeremy were here, he would have also
He would have answered it so much better than me.
basic thoughts. And here's another question. Just a moment.
I'm gonna ask a question.
Yes.
For the first inscriptions, Nesha, there's Amun after it.
Yes.
People try to read this as the Egyptian deity Amun. Was Nesha the Nasa? Everyone.
You know, that's also so the main text that we use for reading Palmyrene names or trying to make the connections is a book. There is a Palmyrene Aramaic personal names book. So we did see this name come up. So I forgot his last name. Yes, that's it. Yeah. And so we did see it come up, and it claimed that it was a Hebrew Canaanite import, or probably a Canaanite import. So could it be read as Amun? Maybe. I'm not too sure though.
Any further questions? Yeah.
So I just have a question about how these objects came to be in the Barracco Museum in Rome.
Yes.
And I believe one of them has a forgery on it, right? On the
So not this one.
no, so one of the three, right, has a forgery on the left side.
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, there was another bust that we were actually working on that did end up being a forgery,
Okay.
but we didn't include it here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Although I do have some information on the provenance.
Yeah,
Because
I would like-
Palmyrene Aramaic, I think Palmyrene funerary busts are known for, like, I think provenance is like a big thing in the field, just because everything was, illegally exported out of Syria. So these busts, actually emailed the Barracco Museum in Rome. They sent me a bunch of reports and all that. So we got into the hands of this one Italian guy, I want to say like in the 1880s. So they've been in the collection since the 1880s. So they would have been brought like directly to Rome out of the Barracco Museum. Or sorry, to Rome out of Syria. Yes.
Others. We're doing so good on time, folks. It's one of those days. Since we have time, can I just ask real quick, like, what led you folks to focus on these specifically? Was it just that they seemed like a particularly interesting corpus for any specific reason, or
You're saying like specifically Palmyrene Aramaic?
No.
Or-
So specifically these three.
These three? Okay.
Yeah.
So actually these three busts have been attested in PAT. So they are they're like in the corpus. It's just there's no like work has been done on them. So we did find these in the Barracco, or Dr. Hutton found these in the Barracco Museum in Rome. And we just worked on them because there's not much research on them, or no research at all actually. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Well, thank you.